jump in there if I could, because part of the sacred language of healing for me is raving, and I would like to rave about Dr. Henrietta, who has become a very good friend past couple of years. She's a naturopathic physician for the past 25 years. International. She's a mama. She's was born in Switzerland and has been involved with many different modalities of healing, mind, body, and spirit and soul. And I so look forward to this language. We have a lot of fun exploring new ways. One of my companies years ago, the subtext of it, the sub slogan was languaging what it means to be well. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So Henrietta, thank you for being here. We've had a wonderful conversation here in the first couple of hours of this first day of Convergence Room, where inflammation is part of the game. So I think we're gonna play in that arena. What's your favorite part about your healing journey?
I hope you said inspiration rather than
way.
inflammation.
Oh, sorry. There we go. Sorry about that.
My favorite part of my work, it has changed over the last 25 years. I mean, I've been at this most of my life when I discovered that between my sensorial perception of the world and the accepted programs just didn't match. And so it was a blessing, because early on I got to see what the other side was supposed to look like. And whenever anything is defamed, you want to take a closer look. When anyone is too contrasting, you want to take a closer look. My personal favorite these days is something I call orphan work. It is inner child work, and it is something that I have learned, excuse me, over the last 11 years as I developed it for myself. It's a different methodology than any of the others. They come close, you got all the other methodologies as well. What it does, it actually works fast and it's effective. And I love it a great deal. When I discovered that really most of what's going on in healing is not sacred, right? So when you both speak of sacred healing, or all three of you speak of sacred healing, we're getting into a place where the sacredness has been taken out. It has been farmed out into another person. My work is to let the person themselves, herself, himself, be responsible and alive within their process. So that's the other part of the healing that I like a lot, to answer your question. And thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm a fan of yours too, so, and of Asima, obviously. I have a quote here that I thought was appropriate. May I read it?
Please.
Okay, so if you hear noise in the background, we got an enormous Puerto Rican parade going down. This is Redding, and the city of Redding is 73% Puerto Rican. So it's almost over, but there's still some stragglers with lots of noisy motorcycles and engines. Just saying. Okay.
Nice. What are they celebrating?
I don't know. I was at another meeting on Spirit this morning, so I completely missed it. All right. This is by Byron Katie, and she calls it Awareness. It's from a little book that is called, it's by her and Eckhart Tolle, and it's really lovely. I checked it out this morning. It's called Peace in the Present Moment. And since sacred healing has a lot to do with the present moment, she says, sanity doesn't suffer, ever. A clear mind is beautiful and sees only its own reflection. It bows in humility to itself. It falls at its own feet. It doesn't add anything or subtract anything. It simply knows the difference between what's real and what's not. And that is really where we all want to go. We want to be able to meet life at a place where I don't know that we'll ever be neutral, but we will not be in the space of self-blame or questioning or trying to stay in control over the very clear process that seems to be arising. And these days, I mean, I was at another meeting up with Nancy, Tom, you know her, and we were discussing, this is the Connected Consciousness meeting, first in person for Berks County, and we were discussing all the pieces and that make up a cohesive whole in society and in yourself. And one thing that we all agreed on is that no matter what you experience in these turbulent times, it's within us, right? So to me, if I'm all over the place, I apologize till I get my groove. Sacred healing to me is internal healing. It's not running away from anything that shows up, and it is to learn the discernment between what is ours and what is pushed our way. We know what's pushed our way, right?
Yeah. A lot of what has been coming up over and over today is how we protect ourselves from the unpredictable. And when you talk about these turbulent times, and I actually led a meditation earlier where I was moved to focus on the negative and focus on the places of tension and the places that we feel pain and constriction and lack of voice, lack of courage. So these two young ladies that just took us through this previous session were brilliant, I think, in being able to point to how to live in the moment. And again, humanity as organism, and the whole foundation, theoretical the ideological foundation of this as an ecosystem platform with World Unity Week and peace through unity is the space of the unpredictable, the space of doesn't need to be governed pharmacologically, doesn't need to be homogenized, right? So over and over and over, we're finding new ways to talk about this space where we meet the novel, we meet the next version of us, and that I think you're right on. I think those ideas all go together brilliantly with the sacred healing in the momentness of being able to recenter always, right? And you speak that language brilliantly in lots of different ways. I often use blood pressure as an example, and I'll say, you don't want your blood pressure to be 120/80 all the time. You want it, the real skill, the physiologic skill, and the measure of being metabolically flexible and healthy is having the pressure change and then come back, whether it be drop violently because of a laceration, and can your body come back to center? And I think maybe that's a good bridge to Hasina's opening words too. The coming back to center is something you really I love the way you moderated that session, and your work with Shamima there is just it's evident, right? When you see young people like that whose lives have changed dramatically. So thank you for who you are and what you do there. And what do you hear in that coming back to center? And I'll ask you the same thing that I asked Henrietta. What's your favorite? What's your favorite unspoken part?
Well, firstly, so many things going through my mind. Henrietta talking about, or actually you said it too, Tom, about protecting ourselves from the unpredictable. And, it's all about going into the unknown. There is no known right now except our past experience, and we can't go back into that to be prepared or to be in a place where we can be with life right now and be able to thrive and contribute to humanity as organism thrives. So my favorite piece comes from that, because when I see the healing, and I love the analogy of coming back to center, I don't see the healing from, I see my language is healing to the next evolutionary level. Like healing is a natural life process. It is something that we're doing constantly. There's no way not to heal to the next evolutionary level. There's no way not to heal to your next level. And it's not whether a symptom shows up or whether part of what I do is I'm a yoga instructor. So it's not really whether someone feels that, oh, we did this yoga session, my leg is sore. It's, well, how do I get back from that? What stretches could I do? And in life, that's what it is. How could I stretch myself in order to be in a place where I'm healing to the next level and I'm being able to be with life in the present? So I'm able to find co-creation within myself, mind, body, spirit, and also co-creation with other mind, body, spirits, in other words, other people, and then co-creating with a greater global family, the non-human, our non-human family, supported by Mother Earth, and our lives are all supported by Mother Earth. So that would be my favorite part, just the wholeness and the, taking the microcosm through to the macrocosm and vice versa.
Okay, thank you. I discovered I can't unmute myself. Thank you, Hasina. I love how you used stretching. That to me ties in with something I heard earlier, and also what I know is on lots of people's minds between the chemtrails and the other outer influences in our lives, in our awareness. Our nervous system is revved up. The Schumann resonance is way down, right? So what we're experiencing now is like this unmoored, uncentered sensibility. And when that happens, we think it's us. We think somehow there's something wrong with us. It actually isn't. And I would like to add to the stretching into yourself that you also come into center as much as possible. There are ways to do that. You can do it through your breath. You can do it through even coughing, right? So something that takes your mind off where you are right now. Another thing I like to suggest to that is any what I am feeling true? And I know it sounds like a crazy question, but because obviously you feel it, so it must be true. What if it is not yours? Does this belong to me? Who does this belong to? Because there's such an enormous energy cloud over us, and we pick up thoughts from all these places. And humanity as organism thrive is we are one coalesced being. We are Earth's organism and we are God's organism. If that's the language you want to use, we can say anything else, the creator, whatever, universe, don't care. The point of that is that we are now looking, and for those of you who know what a toroid shape is, right? A torus, which is that donut, which has this almost like figure 8 flowing in and out. That is the energetic image that we are ourselves. And in so doing, there will always be some garbage in and garbage out. Things will flow through us. We don't need to adhere to it. We don't need to keep it. What if it doesn't belong to you? What if it's not even yours? And you can do that with a lot of things that technically would cause pain, fear, or attachments.
In the plenary session this morning, the language of the torment of the water is, I think, applicable to a lot of our physiology that holds on to this ancestral pain. And when I say ancestral, I mean, yes, previous generations, but really, we are in a space, I think, of accelerated evolution where we are being asked to live at the leading edge, and we ourselves, as what we are under the illusion of being an individual, right? So this individual called Tom is also experiencing ancestral pain, because I've been asked, along with the rest of humanity as organism, as this super consciousness, to move very, very quickly. And I think you're right on when you talk about the, you didn't say this, but I felt the feeling of a drag of momentum. You're talking about the Schumann resonance, right? And we are so practiced at being in our own way. We're so practiced at our language, and especially, you know, all the control forces that you were talking about at the beginning. Our narratives have practiced us for a generation or two now into all of these vernacular of being careful, being protective, being
afraid,
incapable, right? Yeah, it's an incapacity that says, it's kind of like telling the kid, you can't go there, you can't go there, right? And we're so, and we do it to ourselves every day. We say, you can't go there, you're not capable. And again, to point to Daniela and so speak to that. Or Hasina's grinning. Maybe Hasina's, you have some language there, or how we can help people.
Well, I'm still taking that in because it's such a big thing. But I think I'm of the school of thought that when you name something, it's not even the words we use, it's the energy of those words. So I feel like, you know, all of us, because of our varied experiences, the same word would mean totally different things. So, you know, one word which would rub someone the wrong way, make them feel like, oh, you know, I don't feel like I'm healing when I'm busy using this word. It would be fine for someone else. So when we go into that aspect of healing, what I have done in the past is, if something's worrying me, which I feel, you know, heal mind, body, spirit, it's not just something that's happening physically. If something's worrying me and I can feel a knot in my throat or a tight feeling in my chest, I'm going to start writing what on earth is worrying me. And I will go from the smallest thing, like the unwashed dishes in the sink, or the, you know, load shedding, which is mandatory power cuts we're having in South Africa right now, whatever it is. And I'll just go to every single thing that could be worrying me. And once I've finished, there's such a relief. And I've taught that for years, that, you know, the worries that are down on paper, they're now powerless. They're out of the mind, where they can get bigger and, you know, occupy one's imagination. So I always believe in that when it comes to healing.
I like very much how you both are taking this. For me, the whole piece is that I will never be able to step away from what is triggering me. So in whatever way it's triggering me, in whatever way I become aware of it, it is my responsibility to honor that awareness and not create a deeper, you know, fear or anything of that about it or around it, but actually be in a space of allowing it to be there as well. So this third dimension is deeply polarized, right? And I think I spoke to Tom about this the day before, when I woke up one day and I had this image of our beautiful 2-strand DNA being overlaid with some kind of a screen, and that causes us to feel absolute polarity in everything we do. And that is somehow the overlay for the third dimension, which is where we are. All right, it's not exactly the same language you're using, but it's mine. And so we are all rising in our evolutionary cycles, personal, global. The earth is, she's ridding herself of some things that are not wanted. And a lot of purging is going on everywhere. So it is natural that we find these dark spots because they exist. However, for me personally, I go right to it. I go right to it. What are you? Who are you? And if it's deeply enough in myself, I go and I say, all right, who is this within me? How old is she? Where does she come from? Right? So to me, I clear more ways, I clear more things in that way than I could only physically or only mentally. So we all have our different, sorry.
I was gonna ask, for somebody for whom that's a new practice, do you have a way, how do you first explain that to people, to put that, it's in your head as a practice, as a personal,
It's a
you've got
thought,
momentum
yes.
there. How do you
Okay.
help people remind themselves to do that?
One of the easiest ways and one of the most effective ways I have found is when you go into this thought, into this fear, into this concern, into even this joy, where in your body do you feel it? So people will feel it in their throat, in their chest, in their gut, in their energy center. They may feel it in the back of their necks, on their shoulders. And then once you have that feeling, once you have that feeling, you can follow it back. You can say, all right, I feel this right here. Put your hand there, breathe into it, and tell that fear, I love you. It really is the simplest matter to go. It's the simplest matter that you can embrace. It is, you love what you fear. Hence, it doesn't make the fear worse. It doesn't do anything diminishing love. It simply speaks to that which is quite obviously present. How are you gonna, you can't deny it, it's here. Okay, so by shoving it aside, we're creating a bigger problem. And another piece that you can manage with many different energy methods, EFT, EMDR, just thinking deeply on it, take it into your meditation, whatever you want, is anytime you have a judgment or you're resisting something that is, right? So any judgment is ours. Everything is ours. This whole thing takes place inside of us, right? There is no, there's no escaping it. We are it and it is us. So anytime we get plugged in, triggered, or we feel unhappy, we heard something, or even, you know how you sometimes can be embarrassed for somebody else's behavior? Well, that's not their behavior, it's yours. There's a concern that somehow you don't measure up, right? So that's a part of it too. So any time of resentment, any time of anger, any time of judgment, any time of resisting something that obviously is in front of us, go to your body, say, where in my body do I feel it? Or you can take a shortcut and just say, I love you. On the other hand, going to your body, putting your hands there is localizing it. So something in the mind and the body together with the touch seems to generate something a little deeper. So, and then from there you can do other things. But yeah, does that answer your question, Dr. Tom?
Beautifully, yes.
Good, thanks.
Again, this dynamic of scarcity keeps arising today. And if it's true, and it has to be, that we are about to be something else, right? Humanity may be at an end, but Earth is about to be something else, always. So today they were talking about those dynamics of ever-present interaction. Unity not being something to achieve, but something that is, right? Existentially present, it is, just is. And that the way that you layered the mind, body, love, hate, and juxtapose what we think are opposites I could feel the scarcity conversation transform. Right.
Mhm, mhm.
It's a very generous way to offer somebody that glimpse in the mirror that we keep coming back to, that, call what it is, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. And
Right. There's nothing wrong with you because you have feelings, or
Yeah.
because you have an opinion, or because you have a resistance or anything showing up, especially when that one's directed at ourselves. That's when you need more love, not less.
And also just being able to say, what is it teaching me? And
Mhm.
observing yourself, like just going out of your body and saying, well, this is very interesting. This is my response. Why would it be my response?
Mhm.
How do I feel? Like you were speaking about a physical feeling in the body, but also how am I feeling emotionally? And why would that be? What can I learn from this? How can I, as teacher, going out of my body, be able to reframe this and say, as an observer, what am I seeing? And then going back and saying, well, what is my response now? Just
Mhm.
being observer and participant in that moment. And I coming back to unity, Cham, you were saying, you were talking about the whole, what we talked about in an earlier discussion about unity it's not something we're trying to achieve. We maybe just don't recognize it. We don't see it from our own perspective, but again, looking at it as participant and then observer, and coming back to it, and how does it look now, and what is my response now?
The mere fact of not wanting to avoid it,
continue.
they're all agreeing. I love it.
Yes.
The mere fact of not wanting to avoid it, making that kind of noise and racket to remind ourselves to stay in the moment. Ostensibly, this is a power grab, right? Yes, I am bigger than you. I have power. I make noise that you all must hear. So what we're speaking of is actually perfectly served by this when somebody's ego or when somebody's behavior becomes unconscious and they're going off into the ether with outside anger, outside judgment, outside resentment, blaming, and all of that, and owning it, not owning it themselves. So I find those things super interesting. When you have an office in the city, and sometimes when I'm in session, there will be somebody who's just expressed their anger at something, and I'll hear this outside. It's always perfect timing. So I find the universe is playing with us all the time, having its own fun.
Well, the lights just went out here because it's load shedding here in South Africa. Well, in my area in South Africa. So that was very interesting as you were saying that about the ego, and there was the noise, and at the same time the lights went out. Yes, the universe is having its own fun with us. You're on mute, Henrietta.
You're muted.
Wait, let me.
Here you go. Oh, maybe she's just escaping.
Yes, I am sorry. No, I'm not escaping. I'm trying to get to a quieter place. This is nuts. I thought it would be over. Okay.
being in the moment, meeting life,
Yes, indeed.
as Tom would say, meeting life on life's terms.
Well, that's what's happening right now to all of us, apparently, and it had to be on my show, on your show, on our show. All right. Let's see, this should be better. Can you, okay, hang on. I'm gonna turn this around.
So part of the playground, Annie Spade moderated a beautiful conversation earlier. And if anybody didn't catch that, the recording of that conversation, it was footed in the works of Teilhard de Chardin and Thomas Berry and some other ecosystem thinkers, right? And they were discussing what it means to be a polymath or a Renaissance person. And that's what the healthy playground is, when the universe is playing with us, right? And there's all our different ways of celebrating. And if we run off and hide from the thing, then we've reverted to our previous version. And that's what I love about the idea of regenerative language, returning now, not just to science, but to our social narratives. And we've got a cooperative language. We've got now what I called cocktail party mentality earlier. We've got a place where everybody really does have a seat at the table. And that is when they were describing, when somebody was describing the way Ben Bowler first brainstormed this platform to be free and to be a system of networks, right? And each of us can think of ourselves that way. I am a network, right? I'm 100 trillion cells of different blah, blah, blah. And even those aren't really there. And I put myself in the frequencies of life that together conspire to bring forth this thing that looks like me. But if I have to make it look like me again tomorrow, and if I don't let myself stay in those frequencies as the lights flicker, isn't that brilliant?
It's
The
great.
universe is just giggling,
Yeah.
right? But if I have to put everything together in exactly the same way, my cells don't stand a chance, right? And so we letting go of the old cells that don't work every day and then putting some brand new ones in, that's a body that lives in the flow, right? And so all of a sudden I can be a network. And so speak to something like that with what you were saying about not having to protect, and then moving into a space where we've now got a new, for lack of a better phrase, religion in science, right? We've got a new religion, a new mysticism, and a new metaphysic in science, which has always been a faith-based experience. Science has never been proprietary until recent generations. It's never been, quote, true. It is an experience of investigate and fail and evolve, and continue to question, right? Continue to question in a way that actually stimulates a more courageous question.
What it does also, it invites others around the same question to participate in invisible ways, so that you will have new insights and new innovation. I mean, obviously, innovative inventions at the same time across the planet in different times. I remember the semiconductor, in Zurich with IBM, and also in China at the same time. So, Sina, you okay?
No, I'm just looking at what everyone else is going through, and I don't know where this flickering is coming from. If it flickers again, then I think our lights are discharging, and we'll see what I have to do. But I feel bad for everyone having to look at the flicker.
It isn't.
Well, remember,
it isn't bad for us at all. I think it's interesting. It's like the universe is applauding.
The universe is definitely applauding. And when we first brainstormed what we wanted this convergence room to be, remember that we were talking about interruptions. We wanted people with great skill sets and great playfulness and an ability to carry a message. Yes, we definitely want skilled practitioners bringing a thing, but we also wanted people to be interrupted, right? And to not know how they were going to finish their sentences. And the flickering, that's what I call shaking up the snow globe, right? Our job as healers is to, if we're going to be a synthesis voice on the planet, our job is to shake people up from where they were. So congratulations on your flicker. You're way ahead of the game. You're like quantum leaps ahead of us.
Can I add something to what you said about networks? Because at the same time you're mentioning that, I was thinking of circles, because you and I had the conversation about the lowest common denominator. I'm not being divisive here at all. On the contrary, there are always levels, different levels of people's comprehension as to where they wish to be, how they can express themselves. And just like with inventions or science versus faith or all of that, many of us have our comfort level where we like to express life or experience life. And so to me, and those circles that are moving with each other and within each other are very diverse, right? They're very diverse. What we all have in common, rather than being divisive, is we are all aligned with the universe. We're aligned with creation, and we're obviously aligned with each other. And so to me, one of the pieces also on that I really enjoy thinking about is that we come away from a horizontal life. We're coming into a vertical life. Okay, so can we think of life as a vertical experience? We rise up. And this isn't hierarchical at all, you know, that you come from being somebody who pushes I don't know, clean somebody else's shoes to becoming a CEO. That's not at all what I'm talking about. It's always the internal process. If you can think of your own evolution as a vertical path, right? And the young ones, the younger people may not have the capacity yet to fully comprehend that, because when you're in your 60s, life looks very, very different from when you were in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s. I mean, there's such a huge load of insight. And this isn't one-upsmanship, it's nothing to do with that. It has more to do with, if all of us, I sometimes wish, I mean, I love what you're doing with Leave No Girl Behind, that's lovely. And to me, a friend of mine and I had the idea of doing this with 18-year-olds, just really speaking to what is essential for women and for people at this juncture in life, at this time of the universe and the earth shifting. There's some really physical stuff going on, from the solar flares to the sunspots to, you know, the solar winds making a huge difference. So everyone feels that, they just don't know what it is. So.
I love what you're saying about the vertical process. I always think of it as a spiral, like you're at the point, you know, the point at the center of the circle. And if we had to draw a circle and then draw the next circle through that point of, let's call it origin, and the next one. So there's always, the point of origin always moves. And I always teach this in my Truth Walker work, where it's, you're on a journey and there's always a spiral. So as I'd interpret it, you're moving or you're healing to the next level. And it just keeps going like that. And then what if we, you know, asking the question, well, what if we had to look to the unknown for wisdom? We're always looking to the past. We're always looking to experience, but that doesn't serve us in the present, because we've got a present we've never lived in before, and we're having experiences that we've never encountered. So there's nothing, maybe not nothing, but there's very little in the past that could help with that. So if we actually now have to look to the unknown, the unpredictable, And what it comes back to is the unknown is just going within, because there is so much that we don't know we know inside. And if it just comes to a moment of stillness and alignment, and we know how to connect with whatever you want to call it, your heart, your center, God within, source within, divinity, whatever, but getting to connect with that and then just going to the next spiral. So yeah, that's very interesting, the vertical path.
I like what you said about the spiral. To me, life is like a spiral, right? And so we may learn something in the first few iterations, right? And then we go on in life, and then maybe 3 or 4 circles further up, the same thing comes at us. It looks like it's the same thing. One of the things I'm teaching my people is that tell yourself you've already done the work. This is just a check-in. Are we okay? Can we cut this one off the list? Can this be struck off? Are we good? Have you got it? It's just a reminder. And you answer the question by saying, yes, absolutely. I've already done this. I don't need to repeat this again. And I find that enormously helpful, because so many people then suddenly start asking, why on earth is this coming back? What am I supposed to learn? And they go deeply into it. It isn't necessary. There's almost a redundancy there. And I love what you said about the past, in terms of, yes, we always drag the past into our present moment, and there isn't any novelty, there isn't anything new. How can we possibly make any new decisions or choices?
Tom, it looks like it's your footstep on the path now.
I think he's got something brewing that he's working on.
I'm thinking of an amusing way of making fun of myself for trying to put language or a name onto something that can't possibly have a name because it hasn't existed yet. So everything that you're both pointing to is not to be identified, right? Else we drag it back into the third dimension the way you were talking about before.
So no name. But that's what it has to be. It's perfect. It doesn't exist yet. So you're inventing it moment to moment. And that's actually really a beautiful remedy, isn't it? If you don't
really
know
is.
what to do nothing. Give it a moment and it'll be something else.
Yeah, that's a flavor that I've gotten from so many of the speakers already in the past 24 hours. Yesterday's sessions were just gorgeous and very rich that way, talking about how exciting it is to be in fearful times, right? In times where we have slaughtered the normal natural flow of things in the past, whatever, 5,000-10,000 years. And as we've, quote, progressed, we have distanced ourselves from that kind of awe. And this morning when they were talking about the spaciousness of being profoundly connected to the water, there was a giving every element its final value, true voice, was something somebody said in that space of being in awe. And each of us as a vital element, right, finds our ultimate value only in that space, only in that never before known. It's not a space of safety. It's not a space of competence. It's not even a space of, wow, I did it, right? It's not a space of accomplishment. It's a space of, holy moly, what's happened, right? And it's always there. It's always available. Those spaces of appreciation are always available. We're just so practiced at not paying attention to them.
When you speak of it that way, it sounds to me like it is when you do a sudden insight, like when Emoto did his water work with the crystals and the positive affirmations and the singing and all of that, the music. When I look deeper into this, and I found other ways by which water has consciousness, is consciousness, it occurs to me that we who are ostensibly 85% water, they're trying to make it less because people are dehydrated. However, it's still around the same number since we're born. And so each of these water molecules has information and energy, and it goes through the whole world. It goes through all of us in a form or another, and it reconnects somewhere upstream and then gets restructured, and in so doing cleanses itself. Or when it is lifted up to the water, I mean to the sky by the clouds and then rains, that's also restructuring. So the water within ourselves can be blessed as a non-linear, non-local, you get it, right? Non-linear, non-local presence of God, if you will, right? So if we bless ourselves, if we bless each other, whether it's with gratitude, whether it's with appreciation, whether it's with, oh, I just got something. It's that drop into the human consciousness that flows into this big ocean of stillness, and that one plunk makes these ripples in a pond, and we all feel it. As long as we don't clog ourselves with, oh, I know this and I know that, and I don't need to know that, and blah, 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 you know. So thanks for the water comment.
Wonderful.
That's brilliant. Celebrating water as a core need today for Peace Week too. And Henrietta, it reminded me of how a few months ago, Tom and I did this for 30 days where we actually blessed the water, or whatever you want to call it, sent energy to the water, and we had glasses of water and did that every day. And that's when I started recognizing it's going into my body. My body is composed of, you know, water, the cells, and so on, and just realizing, having an awareness and presencing those cells and how I'm affecting them. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah, we all need to remind ourselves of this. You're welcome.
Well, we're getting to the end of our time, and I know we said we'd take questions. So to just respect everyone's time, if you have questions, we've got a few minutes, just take a minute or even 30 seconds. I don't know how many questions there are. I'm just going to put this on gallery view. There we go. Okay. Let me see. Okay.
Nancy's
Nancy.
got her hand up.
Yes. Shamima, can you unmute? I don't really know.
Hi, can you hear me?
There you are.
Okay, great. Wow, I love this conversation. Love it, love it, love it. I don't even know where to begin, but I have to begin. I think the greatest overview, the biggest theme I can take of all the notes I just took is we have to learn as a humanity to feel our feelings and to feel, really feel the words And the best way I've discovered for me is when I consciously speak, if I say the word hate, then I also need to have two pictures. One picture of love in my heart, rainbows, dolphins, hugs, kisses, nice feelings, sweet smelling, do the senses, sweet smelling, sweet tasting, melodious sounds. And then have another word, a picture in my head of the opposite, hate. So that would be like the hell kind of words. That would be bitter tastes, rotten smells, picture dead bodies. I mean, I've been questioning, how do I feel my feelings for about a year now? How do I make it simplify, like Einstein said, bring everything down to the simplest element.
Don't give it
And
names, you're labeling, Nancy. When
Occam's razor, that's
Yeah,
Occam's razor. Bring it down to the simplest terms and always question those terms. Always question everything.
but how has it
So,
worked for you?
pardon?
How has it worked for you to question everything? Did you question the method by which you were doing this?
Oh yeah, yes, I'm 73, so I've questioned the government, I've questioned the medical doctors, I've questioned my parents in my mind. No,
No,
don't.
I meant the specifics that you just offered, Nancy, of something and that you love versus something that you hate, and you related to feeling your feelings. I wonder if you have to give language to that, or if this is just for our benefit, so we understand what you're speaking of.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, well, me personally, I'll use the example of the creator, again, by whatever name you want to use. I was so in love with God and Christ in the first 30 years. I felt like I was the bride of Christ. I was like walking on water. And then I invited Christ into my life at 30. 40 years later, I've gone through like 40 years of wilderness because, and I'm just coming out of it now. It's because my deep love for the past 7 years, and now it's lifted, so you can be relieved. I've hated God, and I released that by putting my hand. Please share this with everybody you know. So simple. I put my hand over my mouth when I want to scream at God, swear words vertically, and go. See, then I don't hurt my vocal cords. I don't hurt anybody horizontally around me. I don't go out into the public and scream. I take it quietly in my car. I live alone, so I can scream out loud to God, but I discovered, why do that? Why hurt my throat? So then I put my hand over my mouth, and that releases it, because we can't manage it. We can't learn it. We can't ignore it. We can't try to change it. We've got to get it out, because there's an old energy that wants to come out and be replaced by a new energy. In fact, when your house was flickering there with the energy, that's a good sign. That's a sign to me from the heavens, from the divine, from the vertical, that change is happening as we speak. That was like a blessing, and you're apologizing. And I'm like, no, please don't apologize. That's expecting the unexpected. That's called unexpected blessings, unexpected consequences, unexpected miracles. That to me was a miracle. God was speaking to us as a group.
Well,
That
thank you very
energy
much for
is
sharing that,
shifting.
Nancy. And I appreciate that you learn to feel your feelings the way it works for you. So
But
that's
if everybody,
great.
if we want to
but
say
hang
the,
on.
but if
Are
we
there-
want to say the word hate, okay, I'll apply it to myself. I should think of and form a picture in my mind of dead bodies. It smells awful. It's a yuckiest feeling, the black sludge of the black sludge, and choose right then and there, stop, pause, and say, do I want to attract more of that? law of attraction. Do I want to be blessed by the universe? So this is a healing right now as I speak. I can let go of using that word and say, okay, Lord, you have not to me been a loving, kind parent, guardian, security blanket. And I have to change my viewpoint, my perspective, since you are always showing love. You're always shining love. I have to shine my love back at you. You're the dot in the middle of the circle, and 8 billion of us are around the circle, and we can take steps towards the circle, which are all the positive words in the dictionary, and the negative ones don't have to be used because
They are
they're
part of the positive ones. There is no separation. Everything that you feel, everything that is outside or inside, the moment you have a response to it, or a reaction, I should say,
Mhm.
you're implicated. It's part of all of us. Everything that
Implicated
happens,
what? Implicated to be what?
you're implicated in both good and bad, whatever you
No,
call
there's no
fear.
bad. There's just good and not good. In the beginning, one creator created one universe and it was good,
Okay.
and sometimes
I
we're
thi-
not. Sometimes we're
I
not.
think-
There's no bad or evil. That's your
Yeah,
judgment,
I
not
think
mine. That's your church upbringing, not mine.
yes.
I
okay.
wasn't taught that.
So I think this
evil
is a
stuff.
great, let's flip this over here since we're coming up to the bottom of the hour. For those of you who are not here, that's an interesting phrase. How'd that phrase come out of me? For those of you who are not here.
Oh, I'm not here.
Yeah, I'm not here either. Yeah. So
I'm a
this is going
nobody.
on right now. This is the plenary session. And I think everybody here knows, go to peaceweek.org, you get the plenary. And so Eco-Conscious Music Alliance Global Action Concert is going on right now. And inspiring musicians help people grow, community sustainability projects. And the second part invites you to join community action session, supporting visions for community. So the shaking, the letting go, all of this language of release and is part of why movement is so yummy. And so get on over there, shake a little. Dr. Henrietta, thank you so much. Thank you for your creativity and your leadership and your fresh voice. And Hasina, thank you ever for your light and your love. And this is a really interesting, fun new time. And thank everybody for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. And for all of you who'd like to join in tomorrow, I'll be doing a short Akashic Records reading at 10:30 in this room. And then at 11:30, there'll be yoga. So if anyone wants to come to yoga, feel free. I'll be leading it. And we've got lots of different discussions as well. So join us. You can look at the schedule on peaceofcreation.com. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Peaceful day, all.